On today's show, Luka Doncic finally practices, but I have a question. Is this something or is it nothing? Talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
We have Kyrie.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't even help it.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. The best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform. Leave a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, and comment anything below. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me from the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, he's red. He ain't dead, but he's out for redemption. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Oh, nice. You just come up with that on the spot?
I just looked over at you and I was like, I need something with red in it.
That was nice. I like that. I'm doing great. 1 week away.
Oh, let's go. We're ready for actual Mavs basketball to get started.
I'm gonna be there.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to be there too. Hopefully you listening will be there too, and we get to see you there. I'll be in section 123, so come say hi.
I'll be in section 1.
Just on the court.
Yeah.
Be on the bench making the choices, making the moves. Today's episode, since we're still in the not real basketball state of Dallas Mavericks, we are in preseason. Let's play Is This Something? I've got a bunch of random stats that I saw on Twitter today and a bunch of random things I saw on Twitter today. And I just wanted to ask the question, is this something? We'll also talk about the player rankings from both The Ringer and ESPN. 3 Mavs in one, 4 in the other. Why? Does it matter? Is it something? That's my question today. And I want to start here. We got a update on Luka Doncic. Finally, it felt like it was taking forever, even though it had only been a couple of weeks, but it did feel like it has been a long time since we heard about Luka Doncic. He participated in his first full practice of the preseason ever since he got the left calf contusion where he got hit in the calf before training camp even started. But remember, he participated in the first day of training camp. And then afterwards, they realized that he had it. And then they said, okay, well, now he's going to sit out. And then they were like, all right, he's going to come back. And then now it doesn't look like he's going to come back. Their Mavs wanted to do a full dress rehearsal on Thursday against the Bucks. Looks like that's not going to happen because Luka Doncic is not going to play in this game. But Jason Kidd said he did, quote, really, really well on Wednesday. Like, good for him. Nice, did really well, and his left calf contusion that he suffered through is, looks like everything is going well on that part. The fact that he participated in practice today, but he's not playing tomorrow, slightly, is this something?
No, I think that they're just being super, super careful about this and not risking it for preseason. I wish he was playing in the preseason. I'm going to be honest with you.
My question was going to be, does this matter then? Does it matter that they're just being so cautious? Do you care as like a Mavericks fan? Is it bothering you that they're being super cautious about it? Because you have the long-term view, but then you also have the like immediate, I don't want to watch these 3 play together.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, it probably doesn't mean anything, but it would just be nice to see those 3 on the court together before the games actually matter. I mean, I think I've mentioned this on here. I don't know, but I look around, I watch other NBA games, other preseason games. It feels like the Mavericks take it the least serious. Like that's just how it feels across the league. Like they don't care. Nobody's playing. We'll play Kyrie 5 minutes. Like that's just kind of how it's always felt. And with the new wrinkle in Klay, it would have been nice to see them out there for a game. But in the end, if they're worried at all about Luka's calf, or if it's like, hey, there's a 99.999% chance he's good to go, it's like, why take that 0.001% chance?
With a calf contusion too, it feels like he could have played from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean,
right? Like,
dude, he definitely would have played through that in the playoffs.
Oh, 100%. And probably did. Yeah. That probably was added on. That probably wasn't the most serious injury he had. So he probably had one
true.
of those. They just couldn't report it because they only had so many lines, like only character spots in the box on the injury report that he could fill. Yeah. To me, I think it goes back to Jason Kidd and how he views a season, because this bothers me to no end about Jason Kidd. You know, if you've listened to the show, if you listen to me and Slightly both on this show, Jason Kidd is one, okay to fail and okay to like fail on purpose sometimes to like send a point or to get this team to learn something. And then also Jason Kidd is Jason Kidd is resigned to the fact that a season is long. He will say that a million different times. He played a bunch of different seasons in the NBA. He's now coached a bunch of different seasons, and he says the season is long. Jason Kidd's teams are completely different in different months of the season. The last couple months of the season, they tend to really ramp it up and to really pick it up. Two out of the 3 years, we've seen that this team can turn it on and all of a sudden become a really, really good team. And I think this goes back to that. Hey, the season is long. Let's not risk anything in preseason. That's why we've seen Kyrie rest for a couple games in the preseason. There's no reported injury for Kyrie or anything. I mean, we had the wrist surgery in the offseason, so maybe that, but there was nothing with Kyrie, just rest. And so I think this goes back to Jason Kidd's mentality, which may be reflected on Nico's and the Mavs and all that the season is long. Let's not like mess anything up here.
Yeah, and that's why I did my Western Conference predictions today. I had the Mavs finishing third.
Hey,
well, I still think they'll get mid-50s wins. But a big reason for that was just that. I think this has always kind of historically been a slowish starting team. And then, two, like you just said, we talked about it all year last year, that they're okay with trying things out and losing. Jason Kidd has said that it's a long season. One loss here or there doesn't really matter, even though in the end it kind of does. But just that's not just how Kidd feels. That's how every coach feels. We've said this on the show before. As fans and stuff, you kind of live and die by these things.
Oh.
The game ends and they're getting on the flight and they're getting ready for practice or shoot around the next morning. Like it's just how quickly you get over things. But I just feel like, especially after last season, where they were the 5 seed, not home court in any series and made the finals, that probably just strengthens them in they're just entrenched now, where it's just like, we don't care if we're the 5 seed, 6 seed, 3 seed, just get us to the playoffs.
We're going to be fine. We'll make it. And honestly, I think Jason Kidd says we're either going to make it or we won't. Right? Yeah. Like 2023, they did not. They did not make it at all. And then we saw what happened to that team, and they completely fell apart. And he was like, you know what? We weren't ready for it. If we weren't ready to win it all, then we're not ready, or to win a playoff series, or to even go 2 rounds or whatever. If we're not ready for that, we're not ready at all. And I'll run this car. I'll run this car off the road. Jason basically said that season, and I get it. And I get that mentality from him. Because he wants to go for it all, wants to go for a championship. And I think Mavs fans should be happy that that's his mentality and that he's, go for broke kind of. And sometimes you go broke, but sometimes you make the NBA Finals.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I wish they would play, but it is what it is. It's nice that Luka is practicing and all this. It doesn't sound like they're concerned.
No, not at all.
Like you said, from what I understand, there's no Kyrie lingering problem that we should be worried about. It's just rest. Which is fine in and of itself, but just ready for the season to get here.
So then what does that change about the first week of the season, the first game of the season, this first game against the Spurs opening night? You mentioned it's like a week away from now. Does that change your expectations or what you hope to see from that first game?
No, I'm more worried about it from the other's point of view. I'm not worried about Luka whatsoever. Like, you just plug him in. He could have not picked up a basketball for 5 months, and I'd feel good about Luka Doncic taking the court. So I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about the feel and the rhythm of, that'll be Klay's first time playing PJ Washington said today that they scrimmaged, and that was the first time since last year that he scrimmaged with both those guys on the court. So I'm sure that they've played around in practice and stuff like that, but the first time against other NBA competition, I'm more worried about like Klay, and really that's it mainly.
I'm just thinking about them together. I want to see the 3 of them together. Luka, Kyrie, and Klay. I want to see the 3 of them together to see how it works. Maybe it's just me, and maybe it's like it's bothering me so much that we just haven't seen it yet. Like not fan jam, not like an open practice, like not even the end of a Mavs training camp practice where sometimes they let the media in and we get to go see them just like scrimmage, or like we haven't even seen that. And so maybe it's just bothering me, and so maybe everyone listening, it's bothering them too. But hey, the season, to Jason Kidd's point, season is long. They'll be able to figure it out. And if anybody's going to figure it out, it's going to be these guys that have been in the NBA the longest of anybody on this roster. And so if that's the group we're worried about, and that's the group that we're like, can we just see them? I think they're going to be okay.
There's also the mental thing. Like, Klay's openly said he was nervous. I think it would kind of help if they just were out there for a preseason game and Klay hits his first 3 off a Luka pass, and it's like, all right, we're here. Here we go.
So that takes that nervousness now to this first game. Right. Like, okay, so So maybe maybe
home game, he misses his first couple threes. There's kind of like
Wemby throws down a huge dunk on the other end, and all of a sudden, like, it usually is what, like 20% San Antonio fans or 30% sometimes, depending on how they travel. And yeah, all of a sudden you go, oh my God, like the building is being taken over by Spurs fans. Like, I don't know, that could happen. But again, it's one out of 82 games. So we'll see how that changes anything. But coming up, let's talk about these rankings. Luka high in the rankings. Kyrie almost the same place in these two rankings, the Ringer and ESPN. It's Kyrie and Lively that I'm fascinated about their rankings. And I'm going to tell you why coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Dallas Mavericks brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. If you want to start the season in the NFL with a big return, go check out what's available at FanDuel. You can get a hunch in the middle of a game, and you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Go to FanDuel.com, and you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. I go there all the time. We were talking about them in the season preview the other day, about where the Mavericks land. We've been talking about this first game a bunch. Mavs, San Antonio Spurs. Mavs minus 8.5. Favorite. 8.5 point favorite to win that first game against the Spurs. So Vegas is not scared by these guys not playing a preseason game together. So you shouldn't be either. So go check it out. See what's available for you. FanDuel.com. Again, it's FanDuel.com.
That's it. It's me versus the machines. The Matrix is taking over. That's it. They want us to be perfect. Basketball isn't perfect. It's beautiful.
Basketball isn't perfect. It's beautiful. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show, listening to us. We're a 5-day-a-week Dallas Mavericks podcast, Slightly Biased with me, Isaac Harris with me, doing it all the time. We'll have a 3-man weave happening. And tomorrow, Dana Larson will be doing the show with me from the Mavericks Arena. Luka will not be there, apparently. But Dana and I will be on this show, breaking it down. So come back and join us then. All right, Slightly. I don't usually care too much about player rankings, but these two, especially when they drop around the same time, caught my attention. Caught my attention, unlike what I'm saying right now to you. Are you watching baseball right now?
I just have it on. Sorry.
Betrayed by your glasses. I can see it like fully in your glasses.
Oh, my bad.
I'm locked into the. Actually, when you get a copyright strike, if it shows up too much, the reflection.
I don't know how that works. I highly doubt it.
We got to check on that. We'll have our lawyers and our intern check it out. I usually don't care about these player rankings, but I was fascinated on these two. The Ringer and ESPN drop around the same time, and they drop these player rankings. Luka is, I don't think it's been revealed in ESPN, but he's going to be in the top 10. He'll probably be in the top 2 or 3. For Ringer, he was number 2 behind Jokic. Feel okay about that? Is that something? Nothing?
Luka being number 2? No.
Yeah. No.
That's fine.
Yeah, we're fine with it. In the Ringer's ranking, Kyrie ranked 26, which I thought was interesting. On there, and then for ESPN he ranked 25, so close. They almost had him in the exact same place. I thought that was cool. To you, is that something or nothing?
No, that feels about right.
Feels right. Yeah, feels right. So then it came down to me, the Dereck Lively and the Klay Thompson rankings. The Ringer did not have Klay Thompson in their top 100. ESPN had Klay Thompson at 71. 71 out of 100. Which do you think is more right?
I think 71 is really, like, if Klay ends up being the 71st best player in the league this upcoming season, that's really, really good for the Mavericks.
So you think that's
if
a little
I were
high?
to do it, well, ESPN's. So I'll say this for the Dereck Lively one too, because I went and looked at it myself because I was like,
I was gonna say we'll get to Lively. I just want to talk about Klay right now.
Right, but I will say the ESPN rankings are predictive. Like that's the goal of their rankings. Where the Ringer one feels very just kind of where they're at right now.
Reactive, yeah, like from last season.
Yeah, right. So in that regard, yeah, I think it's something. I think it shows that ESPN thinks that Klay's going to have a really, really good season playing alongside these two playmakers, Luka and Kyrie, and that he's going to shoot 40% from 3, be fine on defense, and 71st player in the league. Again, if that's what Klay ends up being, that's going to be so good for the Mavericks.
And ESPN also mentioned that Klay ranked 41st, which is a great number, in the 2023 rankings. So before that season, they had him ranked 41. They expected him to really bounce back to be a top, almost 40 player in the NBA, which is crazy. And he dropped 30 spots. So, I mean, he slipped a lot in their rankings, even though he wasn't in other rankings. But 71, that would be great. He's ahead of guys like Jared Allen, who's an all-star, Zach LaVine, DiVincenzo, Tyler Hero, Jaden McDaniels, who's, all defense, Miles Turner, Mitchell Robinson, Marcus Smart, CJ McCollum, Lou Dort, Naz Reid, the great Isaiah Hartenstein.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, he could get there. Like, and he could be there. We're seeing the worst of Klay in this preseason right now. But if he goes back to shooting 40%, averaging like 15 to 18 points a game, hitting a bunch of threes and hitting a bunch of extra, shots off of the Luka and Kyrie attention, then he could be right there.
Yeah, I definitely think it's possible that he's 71st. And like I said, that would be so good for the Mavericks if he's that type of player in the NBA this year.
The player right ahead of him on ESPN's rankings fascinated me.
I looked at it. I forgot.
Number 70. I'll tell you. Number 70, Bradley Beal.
Wow, that feels low for Bradley Beal, but I get it.
Bradley Beal. So, StatMuse posted this. Said, "Who would you rather have in your team this season?" One picture was Klay Thompson. One picture was Bradley Beal. Klay averaged about 18 points a game last year, about 2 assists. Shot 43% from the field, 39% from three, 93% from the free throw line, which is going to help the Mavs. Bradley Beal last year averaged 18 points a game, about 5 assists, 51% from the floor, 43% from three, 81% from the free throw line. Who would you rather have on your team? That is just a fascinating question to have both of those guys on ESPN's list right next to each other, and then also to put them next to each other, like stat-wise from last year too.
Are you asking me who I'd rather have?
Yeah, I'm asking you now.
I'd rather have Klay. In the context of this Mavs team, I'd rather have Klay.
I think I would rather have Klay. I'd rather just have the sharpshooter. I'm not sure what else Bradley Beal is bringing, and I know
that's what it is. The Mavs don't need Bradley Beal's specific skill set, really.
And I don't think that he's bringing this, like, the volume of threes that they're gonna that team specifically is gonna need, but definitely the Mavericks need.
Yeah, exactly. Klay kind of offensively at least fits exactly what the Mavs were looking for.
And I know that this is not like it's definitely not part of the ESPN rankings. It's not part of probably what StatMuse was asking, but I had to go look it up. The difference in salary is absolutely insane between these two.
Yeah.
Klay makes $15.8 million. We've made this point this whole summer. Isaac's made this point a bunch. He made it yesterday that the Mavs aren't asking Klay to be a $35 million like per year player or $30 million or even a $20 million. He's making $15.8 this year, which is
less than Tim Hardaway Jr. was making.
Yeah, right. Bradley Beal's making $50 million next season. So if you put that into context, it's an easy choice.
And this, that's a great point that you brought that up because I was having a conversation with someone and they were just basically like, reacting very strongly to Klay's performance a couple nights ago, and was basically like, hey, they can't afford like a Tim Hardaway Jr. type thing from Klay. And I was like, well, technically, yeah, they could because they had Tim Hardaway Jr. last year making more money than Klay Thompson and still made the NBA Finals. Like, yeah, they actually could afford it. So that really puts it into context.
They won a bunch of playoff games with Tim Hardaway Jr. not playing at all.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they could do it technically. I mean, obviously they don't want to again, I'm sure, but
Dereck Lively in these rankings. So you mentioned ESPNs are a little bit more predictive and the Ringers were a little more reactive to last season. The Ringer had him at 89th, which to me sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
ESPN had him at 56. Who's more right?
Well, I mean, the 56 is aggressive, and I'm just going to come right out and say it. I'm okay with him. I'm doing a self-plug. I'm doing my top 100 list probably on Monday. I probably have Lively around the 60s, in the 60s or so. Mine's predictive as well. But the 56 is aggressive, and I like it. 56 or 59? What was it? 56?
It's 56.
Yeah, 56.
These are the players right above him.
Well, this is what I was going to say. Some of the centers behind him is where I struggle.
It's tough. This is definitely a projection, and it's definitely taking the best things that we hope for Dereck Lively and projecting them into the season. Players right above him, R.J. Barrett, Alfred Şengün, Jaren Jackson Jr. was Defensive Player of the Year recently.
One spot ahead of him.
Yeah, one spot ahead of him. Then Dereck Lively. Then it's Darius Garland, Kobe White. That feels really high. Caruso, the great Alex Caruso. Desmond Bane, Josh Hart, KCP, Chris Middleton, Emmanuel Quickley, Malik Monk. You're like, okay. Like some of these names, you're like, okay, I can see it.
That's high for some of those guys. That is egregiously high.
I can definitely see something. But then Jarrett Allen is behind him as a center behind him. You've got, let's see, Miles Turner, Mitchell Robinson.
Hartenstein being in the 80s was the one that really sparked Twitter.
At 88, Jonas Valanciunas at 91, Brook Lopez 93. It's like, okay, I think like center wise, maybe I don't know. It feels okay. Miles Turner. I think I'm okay with it center wise. I don't think I'm as shocked as you were.
I'm just shocked.
Jared Allen
is for it like that.
Jared Allen is kind of crazy.
Yeah, him being ahead, Jared Allen's crazy. And the thing on Twitter that really got everyone upset was that he was 30 spots or whatever it was ahead of Isaiah Hartenstein, which you know, I'll say, and it's going to get me killed because you were supposed to hate the Thunder and everything that they've done. I really like Isaiah Hartenstein. What I did by end of season top 100 list, I had Hartenstein ahead of Lively because he just had an incredible year. I don't know what I'll do for the predictive one. I don't even know fully what Hartenstein role is going to be on the Thunder just yet, but I think there's not that big of a gap between those two 30 spots. Hartenstein, and it shouldn't be Lively should be lower. It should be Hartenstein should probably be much higher than where he's being ranked.
Yeah, so. And if this is predictive going forward, Lively has not reached his peak at all. Hartenstein is probably the player that he is right now, which is great. Glue player, does a bunch of different things for your team. Awesome. But for Dereck Lively, he's still got a lot he can show the league. He played 55 games in a weird like rookie season where they made the NBA finals and he played a bunch on that team and was one of the first rookie centers in a long time to make the NBA finals with his team. So he showed a bunch, but he can show a lot more. And I'm fascinated to see how that works out for him. But the player rankings were very interesting to me. Let me know in the comment section on YouTube if you think that's something. Coming up, I got a bunch of other random stats and a bunch of other random stuff. Luka, number 1 in a stat I saw today. Also, Quentin Grimes, number 4 in a stat on Twitter today. Is it something? Is it nothing? We'll talk about that.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode is brought to you by Hims. Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have time to go to the doctor's office and get treated for ED. Through Hims, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. They provide an access of different doctor-trusted ED treatments, chewable hard mints, Viagra, Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. So go check it out. See what is available for you. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon, HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable, compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. All right, Slightly, let's talk about some more stats that I've got for you. We're playing Is This Something? Is This Nothing? So the answer to the question is something or nothing. You can tell me why. Okay. Tracy McGrady was asked to pick his MVP and who's going to win the title. He picked Luka and the Mavs. Is that something or nothing?
Yeah, that's something. Shout out to T-Back.
Let's go, T-Back. He's on it. He's on it. It feels like some people are jumping on the Luka for MVP, and then the Mavs for the title this season. He also, it seemed like he really didn't want to pick the Celtics to win. He's like, the Celtics won't do it again. I really don't want to pick them. Hey,
I mean, the legends are finally starting to wake up. I'm always interested to see what Shaq or Chuck have to say because I feel like they'll always say something very pro Mavericks, and then like 3 months later, it's like this team is trash.
Talk about reactive.
Yeah, I feel like last year didn't Shaq pick Luka and the Mavs to win before the season started, and then was like trashing them every chance that he got.
Probably. You can't keep track of Shaq's takes. That's why they started the Post-it note thing because Ernie was like, "We got to do something."
Yeah. You see, they're doing a top 50. They're doing a top 50 players.
They are that like themselves.
Yes.
They're gonna trash their own list because they're not gonna come up with it.
I was gonna say they might not know 50 players in the NBA.
On Twitter today, I saw a stat, and I'm seeing a bunch of these stats lately where people just put like a top 10 list and try and like, all right, this is a ranking, and the Mavs are always way at the top of it because I feel like these accounts, like my Twitter algorithm just knows that I want positive Mavs things.
Well, Mavs Twitter is full of bullies, man, and I think people are scared of them.
That's true. And there's a lot of rage baiting with Mavs fans. I've noticed recently.
Yes.
So B-Ball Index has a stat that's post defense, and they did the top 10 guards in post defense. Number 10, De'Aaron Fox. Number 9, Bradley Beal. Number 8, Isaiah Joe. Number 7, Josh Giddey. Number 6, Bruce Brown. Number 5, Jalen Suggs. 4, Patrick Beverly. R.I.P. Number 3, Taylor Horton-Tucker. Number 2, Alex Caruso. And number 1, Luka Doncic. Is that something or is it nothing?
Yeah, it's definitely something. I mean, it adds to the Harden comparisons through and through. The post,
Fair.
well, he might not be a good defender. Well, he's a good post defender. That was always the Harden go-to defense. But also, too, if you watch him, this is why this defense stuff, you can't play this guy with this guy. It's not NBA 2K where Luka is your point guard, so he's guarding the other team's point guard. One of the benefits of Luka being as big as he is that he can pick up fours, and that just allows you some positional versatility and lineup versatility that you can have because of his size. So yeah, that's definitely something.
This is something because this is why the Mavs can switch. Like you said, this is why the Mavs can switch as well as they do, and why Luka gets a center thrown on him every once in a while, and he doesn't get back down that easy, and you can't just post up on him. And there's not many centers in the NBA that really even try to do that a lot. But yeah, this is something. This is a Luka thing that he is good at. He's good at the swipe downs. We literally saw a video of it in practice today where Lively tried to post up on Luka and he swiped down and he got the ball and he stripped it away from him.
Yeah, that's basketball IQ too. Just a smart
Right
player.
Keeping it smart. The All NBA podcast, our friend Adam Morez posted this stat today on their Twitter account that Quentin Grimes has the 4th fastest shot release in the NBA.
Whoa.
They went through, and its average duration from touch to release, to actual release of the shot. Do you want to try and guess who's the top 4?
Steph has to be on there, does he not?
He is not on. He is not on there.
Is this going to be some weird name?
It is a weird list. It's a bunch of role players.
Okay, just give it to me.
All right, so Gary Trent Jr. was 10. Buddy Hield. Larry Markkinen is on the list at 0.84.
Yeah, he's
super fast release. Kobe White, Dante DiVincenzo, Trey Murphy, our boy Quentin Grimes.
Trey Murphy.
So then the top 3, Corey Kispert.
Okay.
Georges Niang.
Duncan Robinson.
Sam Hauser.
Okay, all right. I mean, just
so I've told you the list. Is this something or is this nothing? You thought it was something at first, then I told you to listen. Now it seems like.
No. I mean, I'm thinking about it. Those are all pretty much everyone on that list is a really solid sharpshooter, at least, right?
Yeah, you got DiVincenzo, Kobe White, Buddy Hield, obviously.
Yeah, Trey Murphy. Sam Hauser is a great 3-point shooter.
It's this whole thing.
So that is something. I mean, that's it's not like Quentin Grimes has never shot well. He has in his career. So, I mean, he's a really interesting little puzzle piece here.
We've talked about his quick release every time, and it's nice to know that like you're so right thinking his shot is quick because it is one of the quickest in the NBA. Like,
it is insanely fast. Like
it's wild how fast he gets that shot up.
I'm looking at I'm pulling up the list. I mean, literally all of these guys I would say are great 3-point shooters.
Gary Trent, Kispert.
Is Georges Niang really knocking down threes like that? That surprised me.
No, but he's chucking them up.
I would never have guessed Georges Niang. But shout out to him.
He's definitely putting the shots up. He's a good 3-point shooter. Right? He shot 37% last year, 40, 42, 40, 41. Yeah, he's a great 3-point shooter.
I guess I've never really thought of the minivan quite like that.
The Nyangmeister?
You know, the minivan. It's one of the best nicknames, I think.
The minivan.
In the league.
Last one I got for you. PJ Washington and Dereck Lively. First of all, they both worked a shift at Raising Cane's today. Something or nothing?
Definitely something whenever they play bad.
There's going to be the video of Dereck Lively calling for a box combo from the window. It's not going to go over well. The first time these guys have a bad game.
No, it's not going to go over well.
That's going to be shared all over the place. But PJ Washington was asked to name his all-time Mavs starting 5. Okay. He picked the obvious ones. Power forward, he picked Dirk.
Right.
He picked Tyson Chandler at center. Great pick.
Okay.
The front court, championship front court. He picked his coach at point guard, Jason Kidd.
Okay.
Great. And then at guard and at small forward, he picked Kyrie and Luka. Something, nothing, valid list.
That's a valid list. But that feels very non-controversial. What would there be anything about?
No, is it a valid list? And it's also it kind of made me realize, oh my gosh, Kyrie is one of the greatest Mavericks of all time already.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if we're just going like peak with the team, like how good they were while they were on the roster, 1,000%, he deserves a shout. Now, I would maybe say, like, let's just be, Kid was a little older, still really great.
He had 2 stints too.
Yeah, I know, but he didn't really turn into J Kidd until after he left the Mavs. But sure. I think the same can kind of be said for Nash. So I'd probably go Luka at point guard, Kyrie at 2, and then you could sneak in like a Sean Marion or someone just defensively. If we're just going real basketball nerd roster construction.
A Rolando Blackman or a Mark Aguirre is like the greatest as a Maverick. But if you want to just go peak as a player, then this list is pretty valid.
Yeah, for sure. And Kid, Kid wasn't MVP candidate Kid that he was with the Nets or anything like that, but he was still very, very good. Like he was just point god at that point.
Yeah. And you got to put your coach on there, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe it is something because maybe Jason Kidd's running such a tight ship that he was like, I got to put Kidd on here, or else I'm done for.
He's the only healthy 4 on the roster, but still.
Yes.
Yeah, I think to me the list just really highlighted. Wow, Kyrie Irving is one of the best Mavericks of all time, and we're watching the best duo in Mavericks history.
It really won't settle in until it's over, but like. Last year, I mean, think about that's the 3rd time in this franchise history that they made the finals. This isn't like, a Golden State Warriors thing or a Spurs thing or a Celtics or Lakers thing where they're in the finals 20 times and, they have different iterations. This is like, we'll look back. Hopefully that was the first of many from this group and the other ones end up in titles, but we'll look back on this in 10 to 20 years. This was one of the best seasons in the history of the Mavs. So,
and that's why I got the finals hat. That's why I got the finals hat on the shelf.
I was listening to the Bill Simmons, them do their over-unders. They were talking about Jokic, and Bill was like, Russello, it's crazy that Jokic is never going to have an all-NBA teammate. And I was thinking, I was like, man, I don't know if Luka, like I struggle to see a world where Luka will in the next 5 to 10 years.
It's kind of hard to have an all-NBA teammate and be one of the
It really is.
players.
He said it so like matter-of-factly, and I was thinking that. I was like, that feels like that's 2 top 15 players on one roster.
But would he count Kyrie because he's been on an all-NBA team before?
No, I think he okay, to be fair, what he was implying was as in terms of like all-time great. Like if you look at the list of the all-time like top 10 players, most of them at one point or another shared a roster with somebody who made an all-NBA team at that time.
They also didn't have the second this current CBA with the second apron and all this crazy stuff and the draft and everything the way that it is, and a league full of mostly smart GMs. Like,
I will say if Kyrie plays like how he did last year and he gets to 65 games, because last year it would have been a really funny. Like I don't think he would have got it if he got to 65 games, but it would have been funny because voters would have had to get on their podcast or whatever and had to say why
explain
Kyrie
why,
wasn't because he was that good. Maybe Lively could sneak in there. Them taking out the center position requirement kind of
that screwed him a little bit
more difficult. Yeah, but
it definitely did. There you go, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. If you want to support the show even further, subscribe and be a Locked On Mavs insider. Text 214-643-8637. Click the link in the description wherever you're listening, watching this show. You get texts on rumors and all kinds of stuff, news from me and Isaac, extra bonus content as well. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. We'll be back tomorrow with the post-game show. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.
Mets Yankees World Series. It's what we want.